What happened to the lost princes in the Tower? This mystery around Edward V and his brother, Richard, Duke of York, is one of the darkest unsolved tales in royal history. The year was 1483. England stood at the edge of uncertainty. The Wars of the Roses, a bloody dynastic struggle between the rival houses of Lancaster and York, had left the kingdom fractured, suspicious, and unstable. Into this storm stepped a young boy, Edward V, only 12 years old. He was heir to the throne of England, a child born of royal blood, destined to wear the crown of his father, Edward IV. By his side was his younger brother, Richard, Duke of York, barely 9 years old. But within months of their father's death, the boys disappeared, locked away inside the cold stone walls of the Tower of London. They were never seen alive again. Their fate became one of the most enduring mysteries in English history, the tale of the lost princes in the Tower. A kingdom in crisis. Edward IV's sudden death in April 1483 threw England into turmoil. His son, Edward V, was too young to rule, so a regency was needed. The responsibility fell to Edward IV's brother, Richard, Duke of Gloucester. At first, he seemed a loyal protector, but the whispers began almost immediately. Was Richard safeguarding the throne for his nephew or for himself? The young Edward V and his brother, Richard, were lodged in the Tower of London, officially in preparation for Edward's coronation. But coronation day never came. Slowly, step by step, Richard of Gloucester stripped away the boys' legitimacy. He declared their parents' marriage invalid, making the children illegitimate, and then, in a dramatic twist, he took the crown himself, becoming King Richard III. And so, the princes became prisoners, royal children locked away behind high walls and iron gates, guarded night and day. And then, silence. The vanishing. By the summer of 1483, reports emerged that the boys were no longer seen playing in the Tower's gardens. No servant spoke of them. No sightings were made. Chroniclers of the time noted their disappearance with unease. Rumors spread that they had been murdered, but by whose hand? Some said they were suffocated in their beds. Others claimed they were poisoned. There were even whispers that their bodies were buried beneath the tower itself, hidden away in secret. Yet no one could provide proof. The silence surrounding the princes was deafening and deliberate. The suspects. If the princes were murdered, who stood to gain? History presents us with a list of suspects, each with motive, means, and opportunity. Richard III. As their uncle and protector, Richard had the greatest responsibility for their safety, but he also had the strongest motive. With the princes gone, his throne was secure. Chroniclers of the Tudor period painted him as a villain, a hunchbacked usurper who killed his own nephews for power. Shakespeare immortalized this image in Richard III, where the king is portrayed as a ruthless tyrant. But is this fact or Tudor propaganda? The Duke of Buckingham. Henry Stafford, Duke of Buckingham, once Richard's ally, turned against him later. Some historians suggest Buckingham may have acted on his own, perhaps without Richard's knowledge, to curry favor or to control the succession. Henry VII, or Henry Tudor. Another suspect often overlooked is Henry Tudor, who defeated Richard III at the Battle of Bosworth in 1485 and became Henry VII. As the founder of the Tudor dynasty, Henry had much to gain by ensuring the princes were never seen again. If the boys survived into his reign, their claim to the throne would always overshadow his own. Some whisper that if Richard did not kill them, Henry might have done so later. Others in the shadows. It is also possible that lesser-known figures, ambitious nobles, desperate courtiers, acted on their own, either to please the king or to secure their own power. The Tower was a place of secrets, and in those secrets the truth may have been buried forever. Evidence and discovery. For centuries, the fate of the princes remained a haunting question mark. But in 1674, during renovations at the Tower of London, workers stumbled upon a wooden box buried beneath the staircase. Inside were the skeletal remains of 2 children. The bones were hastily reburied in Westminster Abbey, placed in an urn marked as "The Princes in the Tower." But science was not advanced in the 17th century. The remains were never tested properly. Were they truly the princes, or were they the bones of other children who had perished in the Tower centuries earlier? In the 20th century, modern historians petitioned for DNA testing, yet the royal family refused. The urn remains sealed in Westminster Abbey, locked as tightly as the Tower itself. Theories that endure. Over time, countless theories have tried to explain what really happened. Murder by Richard III. The traditional view holds Richard as the murderer, a man whose thirst for power overweighed blood ties. Death by Henry VII. Others argue Henry Tudor, after defeating Richard, silenced the princes to ensure no rival claim could challenge him. Escape and survival. Some even believe the princes may have survived. Pretenders emerged across Europe in the years that followed, men claiming to be the lost princes, sparking rebellions and conspiracies. Was one of them telling the truth? Yet none of these theories have ever been proven. The fate of Edward V and his brother remains cloaked in shadows. Why the mystery endures. The story of the lost princes in the Tower is more than just a tale of 2 boys. It is a reflection of the brutality of medieval politics, where crowns were won not by innocence, but by ruthlessness. It also reveals how history is shaped by victors. The Tudors had every reason to paint Richard III as a villain, for it legitimized their own reign. Shakespeare's dramatic portrayal cemented this image for centuries, but modern scholars have challenged this narrative. Some argue Richard III may not have killed the boys at all, that he may not even have known what happened to them. The truth could be far more complex, buried beneath layers of propaganda, rumor, and silence. The legacy of the princes. What makes the tale so haunting is not just the mystery of their deaths, but the tragedy of their lives. 2 young boys robbed of their childhood, their crown, and perhaps their very lives. Their story has inspired novels, plays, films, and endless debate among historians. To this day, visitors to the Tower of London walk past the bloody tower, pausing to imagine the last days of Edward and Richard. Were they afraid? Did they know